Buck and I've been a dentist for 17 years. In this video, I will show you how to whiten your teeth with superior results and in the quickest amount of time using pictures each day of what it looks like and why it works better. Okay, to do this, I did not whiten my teeth for 6 years. So this is my mouth after at least 6 years of not whitening my teeth. I show you all this to establish a baseline for my little experiment. And just so you know, most other whitening results online are just camera Photoshop and lighting tricks where it goes from a dark deep yellow to a marshmallow white. So in this video, to keep it honest, I will include teeth from this shade guide for comparison in each picture all along the way. Now this shade guide works like this. The S2 shade on one end is an unrealistic white that you can't really get in your teeth unless you do dental veneers, which I do in my practice all the time. Then S40 on the other end is an extremely yellow / brown kind of dark color that only people with like wooden teeth from the 1830s have. Now every picture will be under the same lights and camera settings every night, and those settings are meant to bring out the yellow so we can do a better comparison, and I didn't Photoshop anything. Let's start by showing you the shade of my two front teeth. You can see the shade is around this S8 shade, but maybe even a little darker. But if I compare them with the S10, they're slightly lighter than S10. So to calibrate your eyes, let's look at the S14 shade. S14 is definitely darker than the crowns, but S24 is much more yellow or darker. Now let's look at the teeth next to those front teeth. Those teeth are my natural teeth, and they're somewhere around S22 or the S24 shade. You can see that those other teeth are not the S8 shade as my two front teeth are. And this is because my two front teeth are actually crowns. And over the last 6 years, my natural teeth got darker and my crowns stayed the same whiteness. You see, crowns don't change colors. Now, as I whiten my natural teeth, they will start to match more the crowns as they whiten. So let's start with the bleaching. So here I am putting the bleach in the trays on the first night of whitening. By the time you watch this, I likely will have posted a video that shows you how to make a pretty good at-home bleach tray so that it's like the ones that you would get in a dentist office. Though dentist office trays are still better, so if you have them, just use those, don't use these. Now, once I have the bleach in the trays and they're sitting on my teeth, I go to sleep with these in. Most of the time, my sleep is about 8 hours from when I put them in until when I take them out. Then I wait 12 or more hours to show the results because teeth will be whiter right after the bleaching and they will regress just a tad over the next 12 hours. And here are some of the teeth 12 hours after I bleach on day 1. The results don't look like much yet, but while you're looking at them, let me explain what I do. When I bleach, I use a high concentration of carbamide peroxide because it works longer and the duration of whitening is the most important factor in getting your teeth their ultimate whiteness. Carbamide peroxide will work over 6 to 8 hours, whereas hydrogen peroxide will only work 20 to 30 minutes. So when you're looking for a product like my Ezzy whitener, you want to look for carbamide peroxide. Analyzing these results, you can see there is only a slight whitening effect between day 0 and day 1 when looking at if they whitened at all. More dramatic results will happen after this day. I did a similar video like this for my wife, and she had more dramatic whitening effects after day 1 when whitening for just 2 hours. Everyone is different. Now let's look at some of the results of whitening with carbamide peroxide after a second overnight whitening session. These are the results 12 hours after day 2 of whitening. I think you will notice that now we are starting to get more noticeable results. The exact whitener that I use is my brand called Ezzy High Concentration Whitener. It is 44% carbamide peroxide, which in strength is about the same as 15% hydrogen peroxide. The only difference is that it can work 8+ hours, which is the most important factor in whitening your teeth, time on the tooth. Looking specifically at this view, we can tell that after day 2, these lateral incisors and canines are wider than the S24 and S22 shades, whereas the day before, there wasn't much difference. Also, the lateral incisor is starting to blend a lot better with the wider crowns on the front teeth. There's not such a stark difference. Now let's go to the results of day 3 after my third whitening session, which once again is 12 hours after overnight bleaching. You can see how we are getting much more noticeable results. The reason bleaching longer is the most important factor in getting the optimal whiteness in your teeth is that the whitener can permeate through the tooth and whiten deeper. I show more of the research behind this in my video on all the ins and outs of peroxide whitening safely. But here are 2 important studies. To put it in perspective, they tested 10% carbamide peroxide against dental office strength whiteners, which is 35% hydrogen peroxide. And that means in this study, the hydrogen peroxide was at least 10 times stronger in concentration. The results showed that carbamide peroxide whitened deeper than the hydrogen peroxide. To drive the point home further, this review of many studies found that the best whitening results were achieved with overnight whitening, even when compared to dental office whitener, which is the highest concentration you can get. So overnight whitening works best. Quickly, before I get to the most interesting part, I developed the best toothbrush, floss, and other dental products that are in Amazon affiliate links in the description. Those dental products will give you a stunningly clean mouth. You should watch my videos about why they are the best, posted at the end of this video, so you brush and floss with superior results. Okay, but now on day 3, you can see from the side view, we are definitely a lot wider than S24. Also, we seem to have even jumped to the wider than S16. So now, let's keep going. We may even be a hair wider than S10, just like my crowns are, but still not wider than S8 from what I can see, which is also just like my crowns. So we have eliminated years of teeth staining in just 3 nights of overnight bleaching with a high concentration of carbamide peroxide. Now this is my 4th day and my teeth are getting really white. I mean, these are just crazy results. Now, given it isn't as big as anything you will see photoshopped online, where it goes from a dark deep yellow to a marshmallow white, but you will see how dramatic this is in real life soon. Because with the retractor in, you don't get as good a feel of how this looks in real life. Because in real life, this is very noticeable when you look at the whole face, even just these small increments in changing of the shade of whiteness. Now let's look at my favorite view of results. You can see the shade is no longer close at all to S24. It isn't even S10 anymore. In fact, it looks more like S8 or possibly even S6. It is hard to tell at this point, but luckily we have the crowns to compare it to, and the natural teeth are wider than the crowns from what I can see. It has only been 4 sessions, and depending on where you think we started or are currently at, this is about 18 to 14 shades lighter than day 0 or the baseline. For reference, Zoom whitening, which you can get done in dental offices, tells you to expect around 6 to 8 shades wider for teeth that haven't ever been bleached before, or at least they haven't been bleached in a long time. Day 5, we now take a look again at the results of another overnight session of whitening. So looking at this, you may be thinking, why doesn't everyone whiten their teeth this way? Well, part of the reason is this can make your teeth temporarily sensitive, especially if you already have sensitive teeth or already have gum recession. The counterpoint is that the sensitivity goes away after about 2 to 4 weeks. In fact, this study sheds light on this. People with a lot of gum recession are more likely to have tooth sensitivity. In fact, I have other videos about how tooth sensitivity happens in general and what you can do for it. But if you already have sensitivity or gum recession, the sensitivity from whitening can be quite intense until it goes away. If you don't have gum recession or previous tooth sensitivity, the following sensitivity probably won't be too bad for you if you take my exact steps. If you do develop sensitivity, you have a few options. You can lower the concentration of peroxide. You can try whitening for less time. You can brush with anti-sensitivity toothpaste for 2 weeks prior to whitening, or just deal with the sensitivity until it's too intense and then stop whitening until it goes away, and then you can start again after it's gone. Watch my video on whitening safely for more on that. For my wife, who has had a lot of teeth whitening sensitivity in the past, using anti-sensitivity toothpaste is enough to control it, even when using this higher concentration of carbamide peroxide. You can see from all these pictures that the whitening results don't look anything close to S24 and is definitely even below S10. Basically, it looks a lot like day 4 close to that S6 and S8 shade, maybe slightly closer to S6, but it doesn't reach the S4 shade, which is obvious because the S4 shade is a veneer shade and it would be rare to see someone with teeth with an S4 shade, at least their natural teeth. This means even with whitening with the best protocol, you would not expect this level of whiteness unless you had veneers. In fact, I'm going to show you the results of the last 2 days quickly because the results pretty much just stall here. In other words, my teeth got really white, really fast, and then they don't get much whiter after that. And I only want to whiten for 7 to 8 consecutive days in a row, and then take a hiatus for a few weeks or a month or 2 months before I whiten again, if I even want to whiten again. So if I want to whiten more days in a row, I can whiten in a month or 2 for another 7 days in a row if I want. Once again, watch my video on whitening safely for more on that. Now remember this study from earlier? You may wonder why you want to keep whitening after you have achieved good results. As shown here in the study, any whitening system that you use will whiten for a few days and then the shade will regress slightly over the next 2 to 4 weeks. You won't get as dark as you were at the beginning, but it will go back a little bit. And so you would have to continue whitening to keep it at the level that you got when they were at their peak whiteness. Or you might want to continue whitening to try and see if you can get it even just a tad whiter. Any small little result is quite vibrant in actual person, so you may want to do a little whiter. And then the last reason is you might want to reduce the chance of it going back darker again. So that's why you may want to continue whitening, even after you've attained the results that you think are acceptable. The one thing I will say is that on day 6, it definitely looks whiter than shade S8. And we are now fully shade S6, but definitely not S4. And you can see that my natural teeth are whiter than the crowns on my 2 front teeth. And when I had these crowns, I used to whiten. So I'm whitening them in a manner that is even better than I whitened them before because I didn't know all these studies back then. Day 7 is the same. We are close to getting to S4 shade, which are the veneer white shades. Some lucky people can get it to that white. You may not be that lucky. I'm not that lucky, but that's what it is. Now, you may be thinking right now, this actually doesn't look that white. Keep in mind, I used yellow lighting to bring out the yellows, so you can best see slight changes in whiteness. Let's show you real life examples of what this looks like. So this is my wife where we did a similar experiment to what we did here in this video today, except she only does the 8-hour whitening twice at the end of her experiment. She ends up around an S8 to S6 shade. Now, after she finished her experiment and before I started mine, I was around the S24 shade. So this is what we looked like in a picture here. So you can see the dramatic difference in hers and mine after she was done whitening, but before I whitened mine. But then we went on vacation, and during that time, let me show you what her teeth whitening looks like compared to mine. So after she's whitened, but before I've done mine, she is an S6 or 8, and mine is still S22 to S24. So I'm gonna zoom in on my teeth, but you can tell my teeth at S24 are way darker than my wife's at S8 or 6. But now we'll look at some pictures after my whitening, and this is my wife and myself after we both have whitened. And we are both about the same now, as you can tell. And that's how dramatic the results can be. I think my wife even whitened even a little bit more, so she might even be more than an S6 that you would have seen in that video. And there it is. If you have teeth that whiten easily, you may get whiter results than this. But the longer you can make each whitening session, the whiter results that you're going to get. And if you use my Ezzy whitener, I have it linked to in the description. It's the highest concentration of carbamide peroxide that you can find. Watch my videos on how to do it all safely. Watch all my daily tooth care videos I have posted now for the best techniques, tips, and products for a stunningly clean mouth that avoids tooth decay and gum disease and gives you fresh breath. My dental products are in Amazon affiliate links in the description below, and if in Southern California, my dental office is in the description as well. If you're a dentist with a digital scanner, my brother's incredible dental lab is in the description, and he can work with you anywhere inside the United States. Like and subscribe to my channel if you have teeth.